This is the Brewers POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Milwaukee Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Doesn't matter who's in, who's out, who's hurt, who's healthy. Our Milwaukee Brewers find a way to continue to get the job done. And that tonight was the difference in the ball game. We'll talk about that. A 4-1 win over the Pittsburgh Pirates in Pittsburgh at PNC Park there. The Brewers now 88-55 on the season. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Locked On Brewers postcast. My name is Brandon Snide. You can follow me out over on X, formerly Twitter, at Brandon_Snide, and follow all of my work over at WTMJ.com, where we cover all of our Wisconsin sports teams. As always, the Locked On Brewers postcast is free and available wherever you guys get audio podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you guys get audio podcasts. You can get the Locked On Brewers postcast also over on YouTube, where we are live right now talking about the 4-1 win over the Pirates. Just go to that search bar, type in Locked On Brewers, hit that subscribe button for me, hit that notification bell, smash that thumbs up button, and give it a thumbs up because the Brewers getting it done once again over the Pirates, 4-1 this evening, 88-55 on this season. We'll talk about Brandon Woodruff this evening, who was absolutely dominant tonight. The long ball, we'll get into the scoring summary. That was your difference in the game. And if things couldn't get better, ladies and gentlemen, after a 4-1 win and you win this series in Pittsburgh with a chance to sweep them on Sunday, the Chicago Cubs going down against the Washington Nationals. Shame on me a little bit because I said last night, I don't know if we'll get a favor out of Washington this weekend, but that's one of those moments I was glad I was wrong. Washington beating Chicago 2-1 this afternoon, and the Brewers winning 4-1. The difference in the National League Central now grows to 6.5 game. The magic number creeping down for the postseason for the Brewers, obviously for the National League Central, and for that number one seed in the National League. So good things out of this one for Milwaukee. Obviously, the win is the most important thing. And let's get into our scoring summary this evening. A 4-1 win. Your scoring summary brought to you by 5 Hour Energy and Zip Picks. And it begins with our turning point in this one, a scoreless game in the first, second, and third, but not in the fourth inning.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Jake Bauers, once again, he was the turning point in last night's game with the big hit that got the Brewers going offensively. He is the turning point in this one for our Brewers in the top half of the fourth inning. 2 outs, William Contreras on first base, who had a lazy, I wouldn't say lazy, but a high sky high fly ball out in center field, kind of drop in front of O'Neal Cruz. So William Contreras got on base. Jake Bauers, 2 outs, a 3-0 count, and he takes that one 382 feet to right center, his 6th home run of the season. That would help give Milwaukee the 2-0 advantage in that fourth inning. And that was important for obvious reasons, right? You get on the board, you give the Brewers a 2-0 lead, but the way that Brandon Woodruff was pitching in this one, and we will talk about Big Woo coming up most certainly, but the way that he was pitching in this one, I know you may have been watching it and maybe thinking to yourself, I was certainly watching it, telling myself, one of those moments kind of where you go back to the Freddie Peralta game 3 against the Phillies, and you're just like, please get this guy a couple of runs. Like, don't let this start go to waste. Don't let this kind of fall at the wayside. Like, get the run, get the ball moving, get some plate, run scoring across that plate. Jake Bauers, once again, and I say Jake Bauers, and you kind of heard me at the top of the show say it doesn't matter who's in, who's hurt, who's not. That's exactly what this team continues to do, right? And we'll talk about the Brewers bullpen and the pitching, but guys are just every single game hasn't been pretty, right, guys? Like we talked about it. Like, you got to be a bit more consistent. Runners in scoring position, still not fantastic. It started off 0-for-3 in this game for the Brewers offense, and they finished 0-for-6. So it wasn't a great, there's obvious things that you can nitpick on, but this team isn't fully healthy, not even close to it yet. And guys are stepping in. And a big part of that is Jake Bauers, right? We talked about a couple of weeks ago and certainly over the whole month of August, just about when Blake Perkins was an everyday player because of the injured Jackson Chourio, and how many players in this bullpen continue to get out of the lineup and guys just continue to plug in. That's no different tonight for Jake Bauers. And once again, he was the turning point last night. I feel like I'm putting the show from last night on repeat because he's the turning point in this one. A 2-run shot in the fourth that gave Milwaukee a 2-0 lead. The offense kind of shutting down for both of these teams, right? Nothing in the fifth for either one, nothing in the sixth or seventh. And then in the eighth inning, Jackson Chourio, his 19th of the year with Sal Frelick on base, 365 feet to left field, gave the Brewers a 4-0 advantage. At that point, I think everybody kind of knew what the outcome was going to be in this one. The Pirates did obviously plate a run in the ninth inning, a fielder's choice from O'Neal Cruz. Scored Brian Reynolds, so they would plate a run. Aaron Ashby on the mound. He got the save for the Brewers, his third of the year. But let's talk about it because this was one of, and I'm trying to rack my brain, and I'm sure there's probably another one, but this felt like the best Brandon Woodruff outing. Actually, you know what? Let's just pull up his numbers. But it feels like this was one of the best Brandon Woodruff outings we've seen. Now, I guess you go back to his August 8th, where he went 7 innings and 2 earned runs. But I thought he was fantastic this evening. And without further ado, let's dive into your Locked On Brewers postcast player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Again, when you toss 6 scoreless, don't let any runs cross. You only allow 2 hits. You strike out 8 batters. And you, again, give a little bit of a break to your bullpen, you're going to get the Locked On Brewers postcast player of the game. And again, I feel like I'm putting the show on repeat from last night with Jake Bauers as the turning point. Quinn Priester got the player of the game. Jake Bauers tonight, your turning point of the game. But Brandon Woodruff, simply fantastic. A couple of reasons why I thought this one stood out to me was the control for Woody tonight was fantastic. 6 innings pitched. 85 pitches thrown in total this evening, 61 of them landing for strikes. I thought his control was obviously fantastic. He was getting the edges. He was getting down in the zone. He wasn't allowing things to escape in the middle portion of the zone, which kind of burned him in his last start. His defense wasn't great, but this, in Toronto, that's kind of where he's also the player of the game for me, is because that bounce back performance from what we saw in Toronto from Brandon Woodruff, where he only went 4 1/3. He gave up 5 earned runs and 10 hits. Tonight, the complete opposite. So a great bounce back performance from Brandon Woodruff. 6 innings pitched, as we have mentioned, 8 strikeouts, no walks for Woody, no walks, 8 strikeouts, and just 2 hits for the Pirates offense. So Brandon Woodruff getting the Locked On Brewers postcast player of the game. Quinn Priester getting the player of the game on Friday. So tomorrow when Jacob Mizorowski takes the mound, no pressure, Miz, but it's going to be, you got some big shoes to fill going into the player of the game mentions there for the starting pitching for the Brewers in back-to-back games. And we talked about Woodruff, but I also want to give out a shout out to the bullpen for our Milwaukee Brewers. A little bit of a different approach from the bullpen. And I think Murph handled the bullpen pretty good this evening. I don't really have any concerns about the bullpen. Eric Fetty coming on in the 7th. Rob Zastrinski pitching. He made an appearance. Tobias Myers making an appearance for an out. And Aaron Ashby getting the last 5 outs in this game, including the save. He gets his 3rd of the year. But I thought Fetty out of the bullpen was interesting. You could tell that Murph was trying to get some guys, right, experiment a little bit. It's kind of a reconfigured bullpen, right? We mentioned it on Friday's show. No Nick Mears, no Trevor McGill, no Grant Anderson. Like, obviously Shelby Miller's done for the year. So trying to figure different things out, but I thought it was a solid approach. I don't necessarily have any complaints about where the Brewers went bullpen wise. And again, we've seen Aaron Ashby just continue to be absolutely fantastic. Tobias Myers, former starter coming out of the bullpen. Eric Fetty, he's kind of been around Atlanta and St. Louis and now here in Milwaukee. So he was able to get 2/3 of an inning locked down for this team, and a couple of leverage guys in there, a couple of guys getting some toss out of the bullpen. I thought was an interesting approach, and it worked, right? It worked for the Brewers. They only give up that 1 earned run to a fielder's choice there in the bottom half of the 9th inning, but more importantly, secure the win. They're 88th of the year, guys. We are I guess we're about a week into September now. Tomorrow will finish the week out, but almost nearing 90 wins is just simply remarkable for this team. And the best part about it is you're doing it again. No Christian Yelich this evening, so I feel like we should mention that. Although there is an update with Christian Yelich, according to reports, MLB.com, Brewers beat writer Adam McCalvey. He is feeling better, hitting in the cage. The first time he's been able to do that. So hopefully that's a sign of good things that come for Christian Yelich when it comes to that back injury for him. But again, you're getting these wins, guys, and I don't care. Like, Pittsburgh's playing good, right? They beat Toronto recently. They beat the Dodgers recently. Like, coming into this series, they've won 7 out of their last 10. Like, they have been playing much better baseball. These are big wins. They're big wins because you are not only maintaining pace, you maintain pace in the National League Central on Friday and atop the National League in general for that number 1 seed for that bye. But you're also now winning games in which the Cubs are losing. So that's the important thing, is to maintain that, keep the pressure on Chicago, continue to grow that lead in the National League Central, and hopefully down the line, you get some of these guys back as far as health goes. We talked about it. Nick Mears on the 15-day. Trevor McGill, it sounds like Trevor McGill will probably be the only stint he's on, and hopefully he's back. Grant Anderson also part of that. And obviously we mentioned Christian Yelich, how important it would be for him to get in this lineup and how great it was. I put it on my Twitter account at Brandon_Snide. How different this lineup is when you have Sal Frelick, Jackson Chourio, Bryce Terrain, Christian Yelich, and William Contreras, your first couple of batters in the game. Like, it's such a major difference offensively for this team. Obviously, defensively, it helps as well. But to get him going offensively, for Christian Yelich into the lineup for this team offensively is just such a big boost. So hopefully going forward, it's a good thing, a good sign for of things to come for the Brewers, as he did hit in a cage. So hopefully we'll see Christian Yelich back sooner rather than later. Your thoughts, your reactions, and yes, you guessed it, your celebrations, all welcomed in on the program. We'll get to all of it coming up right after this. Today's Locked On Brewers postcast is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape ginger lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or you just need a little extra push to power through your day, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. Golf is all about good times with good people and, of course, good flavors. The grape ginger lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without ever leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. Now you can amp up for fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the United States. This does exclude the Masters tournament. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase is necessary. Once again, that's 5hewin.com. Today's Locked On Brewers postcast is also brought to you by ZipPix. Whether you're looking for a nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, ZipPix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, it provides a discreet way to satisfy those cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. ZipPix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. Available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligrams and 3 milligrams of nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. Go to zippixtoothpicks.com. Use code LOCKEDON for 10% off your order. Must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's zippixtool.com. Promo code LOCKEDON. Zip more, smoke less with ZipPix toothpicks. A 4-1 win over the Pirates in Pittsburgh for our Milwaukee Brewers. 88-55 on the season now are the Brew Crew. The best news of the night, the Cubs also losing, so that helps improve the lead in the National League Central Division for our Milwaukee Brewers. Your thoughts, your reactions, your celebrations, all welcomed in on the program. We begin with Everydayer D-Dubs. Great win, but is something wrong with Danny Jansen? He's been pretty tough to watch since they acquired him. I actually put it out on Twitter. I believe it was the 8th. Don't quote me on it. I believe it was the 8th, and it may have been the 7th. but they took out Jake Bauers, who at this point I would just leave alone in the lineup. And I understand that could change with Christian Yelich, but they pinched hit, lefty on lefty, and they wanted the lefty righty. Danny Jansen was a pinch hitter for Jake Bauers, right-handed hitter. And I just didn't agree with it at the time. I thought, again, I understand. I know Murph loves the split, the lefty righty approaches, but I would have left Jake Bauers in there. Danny Jansen just has not been, I think, what Brewers fans, probably what Pat Murphy, what the front office thought they were acquiring with Danny Jansen. And again, there's still time to fix that, right? There's still time to get right from your backup catcher. And defensively, I understand why the Brewers made that move and whatnot. But I think that tonight I would have left Jake Bauers in there. And again, Danny Jansen strikes out. I believe it was 4 pitches that he's seen in that at bat, and the Brewers don't score anything in that game, in that inning. But with a couple of guys on base, they didn't necessarily need to. But again, 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. We talked about how bad they were the last 2 nights. They only left 5 guys on base, but that was part of it in that inning. Nick, speaking of Jake Bauers, he says, Bauers again? Well, I'm glad he was able to contribute. Well, I guess maybe Murph knows something. Player of the game for me is Ashby. Penn was kind of crumbling, and he pulled them through. It was a different approach with the bullpen this evening for the Brewers. We kind of talked about it a little bit. I don't know if they were crumbling. They allowed a couple of guys on base. I mean, the Pirates no better with runners in scoring position this night, 0 for 6 as well, and left 6 on. But I thought the bullpen was fine. I had no issues with what the bullpen was doing. Again, it felt like as soon as Jake Bauers hit that 2-run home run in the 4th inning with that 2-run cushion and the way that Brandon Woodruff was dealing, as we have mentioned, he's the Locked On Brewers postcast player of the game with the 6 innings pitched, striking out 8 batters. It felt like this game was in control right then and there, and I had no concerns about this game. So I was fine with kind of experimenting, I guess is kind of the right term. I know the only one I say experimenting is Fetty out of the bullpen, because we've seen Tobias come out, we've seen Zastrinsky come out, and obviously Ashby as well. Everydayer GCap over on YouTube. Another great win. Don't want to bring the mood down, but I really don't want to see Perkins in the lineup come October. We already have one in the lineup solely for defense. Collins has proved himself. Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think, again, we gave a lot of love to Blake Perkins, and rightfully so. A lot of love to Blake Perkins because of the job that he was able to do in the absence when Jackson Chourio was down for a handful of weeks due to that hamstring injury. And I think Blake Perkins is a great guy to come off the bench in those key defensive moments. If you want to do a double switch or a defensive switch, you have that option with Blake Perkins. But the way that Isaac Collins swings a bat, and again, switch hitter, Isaac Collins, and I understand he's not a trade outfielder by trade, but he has adapted well defensively out there, defensively for the Brewers. So I do agree with that, GCap, and not only because you're an everydayer, but I think it's a great point that you make that I think Isaac Collins has proven that he should be an everyday player, just like you guys are all everydayers. If you're over there on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button for me. We'll get to your thoughts, your reactions. Charles, everydayer, what a win. Bauers big hit, Chourio breaking an 0 for 17 slump, and Woody is back. I love it. Yeah, Jake Bauers just continues to be such a key piece, not only in this game, but this series so far. And it's been great to see, right? It's a guy that's also battled an injury this year, a shoulder impingement that's left him out, and kind of looking in and seeing, man, if you're Jake Bauers, you're watching Andrew Vaughn tear off the cover off the baseball while you're, recovering from a shoulder injury. And you're like, man, am I ever going to get an opportunity to come back? But again, it's baseball. Injuries are going to happen. Things are going to happen. Jake Bauers, the DH, we've seen him play some outfield. He'll obviously get some first base moments, so it's great to see on that end. But that's just Jake Bauers, man. I remember when we kicked off the Locked On Brewers postcast, and I want to say it was like early mid-May. And at that point, I remember this episode very vividly. Like, I remember saying, like, Jake Bauers might be your best hitter in that moment, right? Now that, feels like a lifetime ago now, but I remember saying, like, Jake Bauers just continues to come in and just make big hits, make big plays, and that's exactly why he does it. So I do agree that all those things that you mentioned, Charles, are fantastic. For me, the best part about that is Jake Bauers just getting another opportunity, and when he gets his opportunity, he shines on him, and again, has an opportunity to create some more playing time for him. Everydayer Nick over on YouTube, I think Murph is getting into playoff mode. Rest the guys that he can while he can for a playoff push. And that part of that is you just can't use the same, you can't use Abner Uribe every day out of the bullpen. You can't use every day you can't use Jared Kinning out of the bullpen, right? And obviously it's kind of bit the Brewers on the backside with the injuries of Trevor McGill, who's seen a boatload of innings, and Nick Mears, who's seen a boatload of innings. We talked about how much innings this Brewers team has pitched since August 15th, the most in baseball by a wide margin. So he's got to be careful. He's got to be able to contain those guys. And I think right now, look, the division's not over. The race for the top spot in the National League is certainly not over, but I don't think, Nick, I don't think you're wrong. Like, I think the bigger picture right now is this team, because if you're not healthy going forward, what does it matter what seed you are? Catch over on YouTube, a must-win by the Crew to get another half game on the Cubs. I am worried about the bullpen usage, specifically Murph's reliance on Ashby. He's racking up innings like a starter. Well, he used to be a starter, and I think the Brewers still want him to be a starter, so that's the good news, I guess. There is pause for concern, and I think you are right, Kitch, and I think there's a reason to be, because you look at Shelby Miller, you look at Trevor McGill, you look at Grant Anderson, you look at Nick Mears, as we have mentioned, and all those guys have seen an uptick in their innings over the course of the season. But again, I think that what they did tonight, a little different, right? You're bringing out Eric Fetty, Tobias Myers, who I continue to be high on and root for, having an opportunity to, again, be a part of that. I think DL Hall will eventually, hopefully, make his way back, and that's always a scary injury. I believe it's an oblique for DL Hall, and I could be wrong. My everydayers will correct me if I am. So you never know with that, but DL Hall, don't forget, before it was Aaron Ashby, it was DL Hall who was fantastic himself. So the Brewers have moments, they have the players to kind of step in and be in those roles, and it's, again, we talked about it last night, like, thank you, Matt Arnold, like, thank you, because where would this team be with some of these guys that we're rattling off here? Everydayer Outdoorsman Show. We are sitting at 5-ish games for the playoffs. It would be interesting to see how Rhys comes involved once he is back. What do we think this lineup might look like here in a couple of weeks? I would love, first off, when we talk about getting Rhys back, you have to insert him, and given health, purposes, obviously, it's going to be a good problem for manager Pat Murphy. I hope Christian Yelich is back in the role. I would love to see Yelly out in left field. It's tough because what do you do? We kind of talked about Isaac Collins and where he fits in for this team. And it's going to be a good problem because you almost have too many good players and you just don't have enough spots, right? Because I think Rhys is a playoff bat. He's an experienced bat. He's been in those big moments given health. And I know he's kind of had an up and down stay here in Milwaukee, but I would like to see Rhys Hoskins in this lineup going forward because it's another power bat. It's another big bat that this team can use. Now that also asks it kind of makes you wonder, where does that fit, in the conversation we talked about with Isaac Collins, because they just have so many good spots and not enough good players to fill them. But again, I think, Murph is going to probably play the big game, right? The big pitcher, the matchup game, and you have opportunities defensively. If you want to pinch hit for Rhys and put Yelly at DH and then put Isaac Collins out in left field, like there's ways to approach this team. So I think they're going to be okay with wherever they go. But I first and foremost, I hope Rhys is healthy. I hope he's good to go. I believe his stint on the IL expires here in a couple of days. I believe it's the 9th. But I think it will be a good problem. It will give a lot of tools in the tool belt for manager Pat Murphy going into the playoffs. Manuel over on YouTube. I believe the lineup for the playoffs will be Sal, William Contreras, Jackson Chourio, Christian Yelich, Terrain Vaughn, and DH Rhys Hoskins and Ortiz. Yeah, I mean, and that's such a great lineup. And then we like the NL Rookie of the Year potentially is sitting on the bench. But that's but I kind of agree with Manuel because I think that's kind of where I'm at as well, given health, but Rhys Hoskins has kind of been there, done that, proven. And I don't want to say that Isaac Collins hasn't or can't do that, but it's such a valuable piece to have Rhys Hoskins in that lineup in those moments who kind of has been there. And then it gives Murph another option on the bench. If you need a pinch runner, late in the game, if you need a defensive switch late in the game, you have that option with Isaac Collins. So it's a good problem to have. I think the biggest thing, and I think everybody on this program would agree, let's just have that. Let's get to that point. Let's get to talking about Christian Yelich being healthy. Let's get to talking about Rhys Hoskins being healthy and being put in that lineup, because then I think that puts us in a much better space going forward, because we feel like our team is fully there, because it's just a lot of moving parts right now. Certainly through the bullpen, as we touched on, and certainly the positional players as well. So we'll see if the Brewers can go for the sweep tomorrow. Just a friendly reminder, Chuck Freeman, every dayer, the host for the daily Locked On Brewers postcast, will be your host here tomorrow. I'll be doing Packers coverage for the Locked On Packers channel. So go Brewers, go Packers. Once again, my thanks to each and every one of you. Thank you guys for always tuning in. Thank you for always making Locked On Brewers part of your day each and every day. Once again, we are free and available wherever you guys get audio podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get audio podcasts, you can get this very program. We are also free and available over on YouTube. Just go to that search bar, type in Locked On Brewers, hit that subscribe button for me, hit that notification bell, hit that thumbs up, and we'll see if the Brew Crew and Jacob Mizorowski can go for the sweep tomorrow in Pittsburgh against the Pirates. My name is Brandon Snide. You can follow me on X, formerly Twitter, at Brandon_Snide, and we will talk to you again next week. And as always, certainly feels better after back-to-back wins against the Pirates. It is always go Brewers. Have a good one, everyone. See you.